Hey, my name is Pepin, and today we're going to be talking about the Manhwa Rabbit Hole. Because of solo leveling success, I've realized that more people are now going to be reading manhwas, which is awesome. I've always wanted it to be more popular than it is. I always love to see this community get even bigger, especially with webtoons getting adaptation and manhwas getting adaptations with Viral Hit and also Tower of God getting a second season. It's all really hype, but I've also realized that people are gonna be falling into the same trap that I fell in once in my life, called the Manhwa Brainrot rabbit hole. Because in mangas and animes, there are this thing that maybe you might not know about. It's called Isekais. And this one is an example I like to show because it was just from last season, I think in winter 2024. It's called The Strongest Tank's Labyrinth Raids. A tank with a rare 9,999 resistance skill got kicked out from the hero's party. And this isn't inherently brain rot, but damn does it have a long ass title. And it is so prevalent in the manga side that we have just basically an almost unlimited source of isekais. We got the strongest wizard making full use of the strategy guide. We got I got a cheat skill in another world and became unrivaled in the real world too. We got, I had to translate this one because I don't know why it's not translated, but anyways, it's called My Lover Was Stolen and I was kicked out of the hero's party, but I awakened to the X skill fixed damage and became invincible. Now let's begin some revenge. And I won't say that these are inherently bad, but I will say that you might or might not be losing some brain functionality when you're reading these over and over and over again like I once did. And I'm not saying they're all bad because I have some personal favorites that I would recommend to a lot of people, like this one. It's called The New Gate. It's actually getting an anime soon. I don't know when, but I actually only realized that when I clicked on this page, but it's awesome to see that because I love The New Gate. I'm not saying that every single isekai is bad, but I am saying that brain rot is brain rot. And with manhwas, you might be falling into a trap that you might not be able to ever get out of. And that's what I'm here to do, to inform you. But before that, I want to take you on my personal journey to get to where I am when I'm reading manhwas and the brain rot I'm reading now. Basically, I started out as a little itty bitty guy who watched anime. And then I switched to mangas because I couldn't wait to fucking get a second season or a third season of an anime. So I went ahead and read the manga for Maid-sama or Kaichawa Maid-sama. I couldn't wait for it. I went ahead to go watch it. And then I started reading more mangas. You know, we got Neverland, we got Vinland Saga, blah, 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 so on and so forth. And then we got to Isekais, you know, the shit that you get. Oh, the 9,999th level adventurer goes and defeats the Demon King. But oh, the Demon King, oh my God, he's already dead. You're the Demon King. Oh my God. They're basically that type of shit. We got F rank adventures, just the typical brain rot stuff that you are here to expect from animes, mangas, isekais, whatever. And then I went to go and read a little thing called solo leveling. I read solo leveling back in like 2021, and ever since I kind of didn't look back. I kept reading manhwa after that. And then we have manhwa, which are Chinese comics. And that's basically where I ended up after my little binge of manhwa. Those are another rabbit hole in itself that might even be more dangerous than manhwas because they got cultivation that are like 4,000 chapters. But then I went and finally landed on regression and reincarnation manhwas, which that's usually what I'm reading nowadays. And basically that has been my whole journey in my brain rot like cycle of life. And I'm sure the people who are watching solo leveling and are now reading the manhwa because they're not waiting for the second core or a second season are basically on a fast track to getting to this part of the journey in their life and their cycle of brain rot. But I'm here to inform you of the dangers during your journey. And basically we have different types of brain rot, different subgenres, if you will. In isekais, there's stuff like, you know, the F rank adventure. We got like the 999. We got those, and we also got like kicked out of the hero's party and some other ones that I can't really remember right now. But in the manhwa side, there's stuff like the leveling systems like solo leveling, where it's basically just you defeat a bunch of mobs, you level up and you get stronger and stronger until basically no one's gonna stand a chance. You're just gonna be destroying everybody. That's basically the MC of all these leveling system manhwas. The next one is reincarnation manhwas, basically the manhwa equivalent to isekais, except that for most of the series that I've been reading, it's a guy getting reincarnated into like the future or from a Muram to a more traditional medieval setting. And then we got VR MMO manhwas, which they're kind of inherently based in an MMO world. Sometimes they'll switch in between real life and VR MMO. For some reason, the VR MMO manhwas, it's so jarring because there's not really a very mainstream MMO as of right now. But in these VR MMO worlds, bro, everyone is playing these games. Like your mother, your grandmother, your great grandmother, the people in the spirit realm are also playing this. But it is really cool because, you know, it's a VR MMO world where this game is really popular, and honestly that's one of my favorite subgenres. We also got regression manhwas, which kind of makes up a lot of the manhwa side, at least in the action part of like the genre. Regression manhwas where they basically regress to the past before the doom began so they can change it over again. Now that they have like a second chance. But there are also subgenres of these manhwas that are kind of like they can fit through any piece of the puzzle in these reincarnation, leveling system manhwas, regression manhwas, you name it, they'll fit in there. There's also some in the VR MMO world. They are like the tower, the gate, and the dungeon manhwas. Tower manhwas, they'll go from bottom to top, and dungeon manhwas and gate manhwas are kind of interchangeable because it's where the MC will just go to beat monsters or like a boss. And I'm not saying all these genres or brain rot are bad. I'm just here to inform you because these are the top causes of brain rot in the manhwa community, and people love these, including me. I won't say that I'm excluded from that list. I love these manhwas. I won't even lie. Now that you're more informed about the dangers of manhwas and like the pitfalls you could fall into, I'm gonna recommend you some brain nourishment with just a little side of some brain rot. Well, at least these are my personal like recommendations. Starting off with, of course, the solo leveling manhwa. Like if you watch the anime, you're probably already reading this now. So what is the next step after this? There are like 3 manhwas, basically 2 manhwas that people will always recommend to you after reading solo leveling. The first one is The Beginning After the End. Basically, this one is one of the most popular manhwas to date. You will see people recommend you in TikTok comment sections, YouTube comment sections. Probably you'll see it on your like recommended feed on YouTube. T-Bait. It's called T-Bait, The Beginning After the End. And it's about a guy who gets reincarnated. He was like a king in one world that was like mainly based on martial arts, and now he gets reincarnated into this world where there's magic, and he basically gets a second chance at life. And the second one is Omniscient Reader. It's also called Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, but basically it's about a dude who was just on a train one day. He was the only guy who was reading this one web novel. All the shit that happened in that web novel started happening in real life, and that's the start of it. These are like the 2 things that people are always going to recommend you. Like no matter what, you gotta read Omniscient Reader Viewpoint, ORV, or T-Bait. But my personal recommendation, if you want something more, it would be SSS Class Revival Hunter. I know, SSS Class, what the fuck are we doing? Is this an isekai? Are we going from F rank to S rank? Where are we at? No, but honestly, this one is near and dear to my heart. It's honestly something that I wouldn't think would give you some emotions other than like feeling of hype, but it takes you through some good ass scene. I know a lot of people love this series, and I would love to recommend it to you. Now, these next 2 recommendations are Mura manhwa, which are martial arts / historicals types of series. They take place hundreds of years, if not thousands of years before modern times. And basically you'll see some martial arts action taking place in a historical setting. And this one in particular, it's a guy who gets reincarnated after his fight with the leader of the demonic cult. And basically he sees that his sect that was once grandiose, it looks like shit now. They've basically fallen on hard times ever since then, and now he's on a journey to get the Manhwa sect to its former glory, whatever means necessary. The next one is The Return of the Mad Demon, one of my personal favorites actually. Basically, bro is just crazy. The MC of this series is just absolutely nuts. He gets reincarnated after he pulls some hijinks in his first life, and he just becomes an absolute menace. It's one of my favorite types of series. If you're looking for a good laugh while also getting introduction to the Muram types of manhwas, then this one is a good one for you. The next one is called Viral Hit, and this one is actually getting an anime. It's really sick. I have been reading this series. I actually didn't catch up on this series for a while, but it's really awesome to see that this is getting an anime. And basically, he learns how to fight, and he makes YouTube videos, or I don't remember what it's called, YouTube videos while doing it. It's really sick. And if you might know, this is actually another series by the same person who made Lookism. So if you know Lookism, if you watch the Lookism anime, then you should probably look out for Viral Hit. And one that is kind of close to this is Hectopascal. These guys might look like they are 30-year-old men, maybe even higher, 20-year-old men. You know how in Japan there are those delinquents? Well, in Korea, there are also the same delinquents that look like they're 30 years old, and they are fighting gang wars in school turf. That's basically what's happening here. People are just beating the shit out of each other, and it's kind of sick. If you want to see some unadulterated action that you should be saying like, damn, shouldn't these kids be playing like League of Legends or Counter-Strike, or I don't know, reading a book? What are they doing fighting the shit out of each other? Then you should read this one. Now with VR MMO manhwas, they're pretty straightforward. There's a VR MMO world, and that's about it. But in this one, it gets pretty bonkers. It's called Hardcore Leveling Warrior. It's actually one of the first webtoons I ever read, and it's pretty sick. It's a VR MMO world where this guy, the main character, was the #1 dude, like the #1 player in this big ass VR MMO, and he has to start all the way from the beginning, and this is his journey through that. But it gets pretty damn bonkers halfway through when it starts to affect the stuff in the real world too. And the next one is called The Final Raid Boss. This one is actually one of my favorite series, like VR MMO series that I've read. It's actually, I've only read this recently, but it's honestly become one of my top favorite reads for VR MMOs. And that's because it basically has this guy who was the #1 player in the world, just like the other one, and he went missing. And that's because he entered the beta for this other game that's really popular. Basically, he was the only one that wasn't able to get out of it. Everybody else already left and dipped, so he was the only one in this world. And instead of the developers trying to get him out, well, they kind of just let him stay there, and he ended up becoming an NPC, and it kind of snowballed after that. It's an absolute banger. And if you want more action series, there's so many more I would recommend to you. And I'm just going to go rapid fire because I don't want this video to go too damn long. We got The World After the Fall. We got Doombreaker, which is also sick. And we got The Lazy Lord Masters the Sword. Even though it's a silly name, it's an absolutely banger of a manhwa. And finally, the one that I would personally recommend you read if you want a so refreshing take on the action fantasy genre, or like just the fantasy genre in general, The Greatest Estate Developer, bro, is just a menace. And I'll put up some faces that he makes on the screen. Basically, he is so infamous for his faces. His name is Lloyd, and it is so sick. If you want a good read that you are gonna be wanting more, then you should read The Greatest Estate Developer. Absolutely one of my top 10 manhwas read of all time. And I am a little bit jokey when it comes to Brainrot and how manhwas have a lot of brain rot in them, but so do mangas. But honestly, I'm just happy that manhwas are getting, you know, the spotlight, a little bit of popularity. I know a lot of mangas are getting, you know, adaptations, with a lot of isekais getting adaptations, but I'm also really glad to see stuff like Viral Hit and Tower of God Season 2, and even the success of Solo Leveling. Bro, I'm so hyped up about that fact that these are actually successful. Like, we're actually seeing some good series pop off. I'm happy about that. Like, just a year or two ago, I would have never expected to get the quality adaptation that Solo Leveling got as an anime. Like, I'm so happy that it got like the respect it deserved and more, honestly. And there are so many more manhwas that I would love to see on the damn big screen, like SSS Class Revival Hunter or even Greatest Estate Developer, but maybe we'll see that in the future. For now, I'll just take what I can get. But that's about it. I hope you're a little bit more informed about brain rot in general in the manhwa community and the manga community. Just be careful of manhwa cultivation and manhwa martial arts. Anyways, good luck.